Hey, welcome to A Conversation With. My name is Philip DeFranco, and today we're having a conversation with Daniel Sloss. Hello, sir.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
I was
on.
glad this one, you answered a Twitter DM. I was like, maybe this will be the way to do it, because we have such a... I don't like to go through bookers, and so it's like primarily people that I've talked about on the show that come on, or people that I know.
It's not even that I don't like going through bookers. I just don't like setting my agent on anyone. So if I can do it via me myself, I'm like, I'm going to be able to get this information across much quicker and much more efficient than someone I'm paying.
Yeah, there's always that balance of like, okay, I don't have to think about it versus this is not personable and some shit's going to go wrong.
Aye, because you go through my people. I just go, yeah, because I sent you a message because you'd plugged my shows about 2 years ago when they came out on Netflix.
Netflix, yeah.
And I slid into your DMs and said thank you very much. And then you ignored me.
Yes, no, that's a very me move.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The good thing is everyone that comes on says that I don't respond, so people know that it's not personable or personal.
It's not personal.
No.
Oh fuck. Well.
But you you also have to think of it. Your initial offer was, I'm going to buy you a beer. I have now been able to use that silence and upsell you to be on my podcast.
Okay,
right? It was like a $2.50 value, and now much better.
It's like $4. That's how much my public.
Great interest rate.
Yeah.
But for people that maybe don't know who you are, how would you explain that in like 30 to 60 seconds?
I'm a Scottish comedian who's been doing it for fucking ages, and I've got 2 Netflix specials and a special on HBO. Called X. The one on Netflix, one's about death, and the other one has now led to, I think we're on 158 divorces and about 90,000 breakups.
I was going to ask if like you still pride yourself on the number, or you're just like, stop asking me about it.
I stopped counting a lot of them, but just because, man, I don't go into my Instagram DMs at all, just because that's where the psychopaths live. Like, I'm sure I've got some lovely fans in there, but I don't want to. I'm not going to talk to all of the crazy people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to go in there because I used to read all the messages and get like an actual running tally of it going, but it just became like exhausting. And so I try and keep an eye out for the divorces because that's my favorite number now.
Most value.
And yeah, it's more of a, once you surpass 50,000 breakups, you're like, it's fine.
There was a foundation to that house.
Yeah, and it's continued on. Whereas the divorces, man, people bring me divorce papers to sign. Like, that's what they get me to autograph, and that's like, people go, "You still proud about that?" I'm like, yeah. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Of course I'm proud. I made someone leave their wife.
Yeah, you're saving people time.
Joke.
You're saving people time.
Saving time, and again, none of the breakups I've caused were good. It's not like there were 2 parents holding their triplets, being like, "We love each other so much, we can't wait to spend the rest of our lives together." And then they watched my special and were like, "Fuck them, fuck the kids." I'm only driving a wedge deeper into the cracks in shitty relationships.
Do you feel like because obviously there's like always a little bit of a separation between, a performance and your real life. Do you feel like having that mindset, going through that performance, having it be such a known thing for you, that it maybe, does it ever make you overthink any of the relationships that you have? Or is it like, no, there's a complete separation?
No, because I stand by everything I said in Jigsaw. Like, the show was never anti-relationship. It was pro single people. It was a love letter to single people, and it was never against true love. It was just, I think people are so fucking shit at being single that's why they're in a relationship, and I think that's the weakest reason to be in a relationship. Just because you're so bad at being alone that you can't do it. So and you've never learned to love yourself, so you employ someone else to do it for you, and it's what I used to do when I was single. I used to get into relationships all the time because I was just really bad at being alone, and then I got used to it. Like, I've always believed, I think falling in love should be the most fucking inconvenient thing in the entire world. Like, I think it should just be like, my dad's always had a good analogy of it. Like, people often say, like, I die for my kids, or I die for my wife, or whatever. My dad says it, but not in a proud way. Like, it's just a fact. He's like, yeah, I die for my kids. And he's smarter than all of us, right? The man's a computer programmer, one of the smartest men in the world. I tell dick jokes for a living, right? I'm not the best DNA to be carried on. So when he says, I die for my kids, he's like, yeah, I do it. And it would fucking piss me off, because in the post-apocalyptic world, I'm more useful. But because I love my kids and because I love my wife, I would die for them. Inconvenient love. I think it's more
that.
honest.
Yeah.
If you're happy to be in love, like that's what you're in love with.
Mm-hmm.
You're just, if your thing is, oh my God, finally I found someone, or you found someone, that's what you're happy about, not the person that you fucking found. I think it's very, very unhealthy way. And these are also the fucking people in the shitty relationships are the ones that brag about their relationships, and I think it becomes a self-fulfilling cycle, because you get all these people in shitty relationships who we all know are in shitty relationships, and then they go on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, and they brag about their shitty fucking relationship with the one photo they managed to get of them and their partner smiling. And then people at home who've been single for ages sit there going, fucking look at Debbie's photo with her and Chris. She fucking hates Chris, right? That relationship's one of the worst relationships in the world, but in this moment, look how happy they are. Being in a shit relationship must be better than nothing, and it drives these people to settle for less.
What's the longest relationship you've been in?
Longest one was 2.5 years.
So obviously that didn't work out.
No, and that was a good relationship. That we just grew apart. Like it was, I was young. She was training to be a lawyer, and I was doing cocaine. So those
didn't match.
Yeah, they didn't.
They could have.
It turns out that's illegal, and she can't be around illegal things. No, we just sort of, because when I was young, man, I absolutely, my parents are still together, hugely, massively in love. No divorces anywhere in my family. Like, I'm not a bitter person about relationships, but I would just, when I was younger, I was trying to emulate them so much. I was like, they got married, but by the time they were 22, I'll just do the same thing. You get married, you have kids, that's what you do. And then I suddenly was single for a bit, and I enjoyed it. And then because when you're in a relationship, you know, you do become a different person. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But when you become single, you've just got this thing of like, fucking, who am I anymore? Which part of these personality traits belong to me, and which ones did I just adopt from this relationship? And I enjoyed being single for ages, and was very, very good at being single. That it got to the point, which I think everyone should get to, where you enjoy being single so much because it's good, that you have to be better than that. So I'm in a very, very happy relationship now, and people ask, oh, you know, but what about Jigsaw? What about all this? And I'm like, well, she's better than that.
Right.
She's better than all that stuff, and that's what it should be. Like, if you're miserable when you're single, no wonder you're happy when you're in a relationship.
Yeah, I get that. Hearing you say that makes me feel kind of glad now that my parents had a horrible relationship and were divorced at 3. Like, because I remember having conversations with my dad when I was 6 years old, not able to comprehend things. And he was just like, even if you got a girl pregnant, you don't have to marry her, which is not a conversation you have with a 6-year-old. No. But I was like, but it made me so nervous of relationships. I think it probably helped me, well, that and just being extremely awkward growing up, like of me learning who I was and liking myself. But on the note of kind of the personal stories, because I learned about you because of Dark, and I learned about you because of Jigsaw. But I found this this TED Talk that you did back in 2012, and it was on the art of storytelling. Oh no. You're like, something I said 8 years ago. But no, but you talk about the difference of audience reaction regarding, you know, actors and comedians, and it's all kind of storytelling, and it's the comedians, you know, they insert themselves in these fictional tales because they're egocentric, but everything that you know I've ever seen has been you being, what seems to me, unless it's something else, deeply personal. Yeah. And I was wondering if there was a moment where you were like, you know what, actually I'm going to take this jump, or I'm going to pivot, or was this slow progression? It was
the TED Talk. The reason I flinched there is because it still gets regularly quoted to me by fans.
Oh, really?
But it was, but man, I was 22 when I did it, and it wasn't like one of the big, it was a TEDx and it was a great thing to do, but there was like 30 people in the audience, and I was so used to, I'm used to comedy, so I'm used to, whenever I say things getting a laugh. And because obviously this wasn't a funny speech, it was just me talking, in my own brain, I would say a sentence and there'd be silence, and my brain associates that with going bad.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, no, but I wasn't saying anything funny. Like, so it was just a quiet reaction, so I had to get used to it. And then I got nervous, and for me, I'm visibly nervous in it, and I can't watch it because I love being confident. That's my whole stage persona and everything. So when I see myself nervous, I just go, oh God, it's not. So I can't watch it back.
Yeah.
The progression into more personal stuff came. Well, I saw so many comedians do. There's an amazing comedian called Tig Notaro who did she did a show called Live at the Largo, where basically her mother had died, her partner had just left her, and then she'd just been diagnosed with breast cancer. and she went on stage with like essentially no material. I think it started talking about it, and it was so raw, but it was so funny as well because it was honest. And I was like, holy fucking shit! Like I remember exactly where I was when I listened to it. I was in Brighton. I had to sit down on a bench just listening to this, going, I didn't know that you were able to do that in stand up. And then I watched other great ones like, you know, Mike Birbiglia is very good at it, and there's a lot of it at the Edinburgh Festival. That's the sort of themes that people do. And then I was in a gig in LA. It was called Riot, and it was just, they were like, can you come on stage and talk about something you've never spoken about before on stage? So I come up, I'm like, here's a bunch of funny sex stories. They're like, everyone does funny sex stories. Give us something more personal. And I was like, I've got a dead sister. And they were like, would you talk about that? And I'm like, fucking yeah, all right. So I messaged my mum, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing a gig. They want me to talk about Josie. Just, you know, I'm obviously fine with it, but, you know, I want to make sure with my mum that it's fine. And she phoned up very excited, and she started telling me a bunch of funny stories about back when Josie was alive, all the funny things. And I went on stage that night, and because it was just a gig, which was designed to be, you can, you know, it's just raw and open, whatever. Doing those stories and getting genuine laughs out of them, and being able to sort of, you know, talk, not be alone in it. Like, death is the most common thing in the fucking world. It's the only thing we all have in common, is the fact that we're all going to die, and everyone we love is going to die. But people still get very, very awkward when you talk about death. But I never have been. So getting to do it on stage, it allowed me to sort of, I don't know, in a way of catharsis, it allowed me to explain to the audience why my sense of humour was the way it was, and how it affected, my sister's death affected my sense of humour all the way through. And it got such a good reaction. Like, it was one of the, normally silences are terrible in comedy. They're the worst things you can fucking get because you're not in control of them. But when you're talking about sensitive subjects, darker subjects, when people are listening, the silences are... It's when I learned that there's more power in those silences, because it means people are listening. Mm-hmm.
Well, because I was going to say, it seems like a big thing for you when it comes to those emotional pieces is that kind of the first time you felt maybe even emotionally connected to an audience?
In a way, yeah.
Or is it more the power trip?
But it's to be honest, it's definitely more the power trip.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's look, the audience is swimming and I'm the lifeguard, and at one point I've not taught them to. They're when they're laughing, they're swimming. And when they're not swimming, they're drowning. So you make them laugh for 45 fucking minutes, and you're the guy that they go to. They're like, here, you're in control of my emotions. And then you fucking take it away from them for 5 minutes, and they're like, they don't know how to make themselves laugh in those moments. They're just awkward.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute fucking power trip.
Well, so kind of then going on to the opposite end of it, because obviously you put out a special, then you start working on new stuff. When would you say the last time that you bombed was?
Oh, like bombs?
And it could just be in your head, where it was like, that deafening moment. Because, I mean, I feel like we were kind of talking about it for a second, you probably play to, at this point, I feel like people hit a certain level of success where it's like, okay, this is probably a safe room. Do you feel like there has been an unsafe place, and do you crave that at times?
I crave it a little bit. Like, I'm working on a new show at the moment, and it's good. Like, my fans are insane people, and they're great, but they're all mental. And so when they come to the shows, when I'm working on new material, they'll laugh at everything, and I'm going, no, I don't need you to laugh at everything. I need you to, you know, see me as a fucking neutral, because I think that's why so many great comedians eventually get worse, because it's so much harder to find a neutral audience to gig in front of. That's why America's still good for me. Like, I'm not that well known over here, like in places, but like I get to jump on at like the Cellar and like the Improv and all these clubs where maybe 15% of the audience know I am, but the rest don't, and they don't give a shit. And I find it still exciting. I can't remember the last time I genuinely full-on bombed, though. And if I did, it would have been self-sabotage. It wouldn't have been them. It would have been me.
It would have been just, you want to blow up tonight just to feel it?
Well, kind of.
Because that, to me, that sounds like the most mental thing. But
I've done the only one that pops to mind is there's a very, very good gig during the Edinburgh Festival called Spank, and it's just a late night insane show where there's like a naked open spot. So if you want to go on a problem with your show, you have to do it while in the nude.
Oh wow!
And everyone's drunk. It's one of the shows that would only exist at the Edinburgh Festival. And my friends run the show. They would ask me to come on it for ages and ages and ages, and they kept going, "It's a bear pit. It's a bear pit." I'm like, I don't want to gig on a fucking bear pit. Like, that's not going to be fun for me. And they keep asking, and they're really good friends, and all my friends have done the show, and they say it's amazing. Like, it's a high energy audience. And I think before I went on stage, I had decided myself, because there was all the comedians in the back of the room, because they knew I was finally fucking doing it, and they know how much I hate late night gigs and stuff. And I in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna bomb here. And I already started to hate the audience before I walked on stage. And I went on, and they were fine. In hindsight, they were an absolutely fine audience, right? They laughed at all the right bits, maybe not as hard as I would have liked, but they still enjoyed it. And at one point, a girl heckled me, and because I was just so on fucking edge, I went for her, like way too harsh, way too soon, like just fucking kicking a puppy across a room, like got that. So like people go, oh Jesus Christ, and then I was like, this hot, and it just became, and then the comedians in the back of the room start laughing, and for me it then just becomes, right, that's the gig. Right, I can't. I've fucked up this one so much. Like this audience hates me so much now. I can only perform to the back of the room. And I had a couple of drinks, and it ended with me. I refused to leave the stage until I got the laugh, and I quote, until I get the laugh I deserve. Which is just, and again, the audience, they're not booing, they're trying to enjoy it. I've just yelled at them for ages, and it then ended up with me lying on the ground, just reading out my comedy CV to the audience in the most fucking egotistical, adequate way. I'm like, 2 Netflix specials, sold out 10,000 tickets during the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh wow! So this is recent, or
no,
semi recent.
It's about 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm lying on the floor, 9 Conan appearances, all the comedians in the back of the room just laughing because I'm clearly having a miserable time. That being said, to be absolutely fair to the audience, fully came round at the end. They loved watching the mental breakdown of a comic, and it ended up with me just screaming, "Is this what you want?" and then me getting naked for the show and then storming off.
When you said earlier that you don't like late night shows, so like shows after midnight.
Why on fucking earth would I want to gig to drunk people? I don't even like talking to drunk people. Like
really?
Well, unless I'm drunk, in which case it's the best, obviously. But yeah, like there's all these late night gigs in places where they're like, you can go on at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. I'm like, no. Why
are they the ones that are more likely to go wrong?
Yeah. And it's cowardice on my side, but it's I want to do the part of my jobs that I really want to do. There's comedy purists. I remember it so much when I started out. Like you'd be gigging to 7 people in an audience, and there became a point when I would turn up to shows, and there would be 7 people in the crowd, and I'd go, I'm not doing this gig. I'm not gonna perform to 7 fucking people. That's not fun. And they're like, no, you have to learn to play to 7 people. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm never going to play to 7 people again. Why do I have to learn something that I intend on having a career beyond 7 audience members. I don't need this skill because it's not. And so, many comedians would disagree with me, and I think I think they are right. I'm just a coward.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I just want to take a second to thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of A Conversation With, DoorDash. DoorDash is something for literally everyone. You don't like dealing with lines, you're running late for work, order pickup, and pass the lines so you can eat good on your tight timeline. Or maybe you're trying to get an easy way to both get something everyone wants and be able to split the bill with all your friends. DoorDash makes it easy with their group ordering feature. And the best part is right now, our listeners get $5 off their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code DeFranco. With DoorDash, ordering is so easy. You just open up the app, choose what you want to eat, and your food will be delivered to you wherever you are. And honestly, it's a lifesaver on days, especially when I'm shooting this podcast. Sometimes we're so pressed for time because of prepping, multiple guests, on top of my normal phone calls, my meetings, the videos, and I only get a few minutes to myself. And so with DoorDash, I get my favorite meal quickly delivered to me in no time. And we have to talk about all of the choices that you get when you download the app. With door-to-door delivery in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Canada, Australia. That's 4,000 cities in total that you can order from your favorite local pizza place or one of the over 300,000 restaurant partners featured on the app. The possibilities are endless. So, do not forget, that's $5 off your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and you enter code DeFranco. But that is all for now, and back to your podcast. So I was going through some of the the podcasts that you've done over the years, and I know that at one point you kind of looked through your comedy, tried to find out if you were a sociopath. Yeah. Right? And then ultimately finding, I'm actually an empathetic person, and you never want to be horrible to someone else because people were horrible to you, but then you kind of passed it, and all of a sudden I was like really fascinated. What horrible stuff in that way, or like of people treating you horrible did you experience? Because it sounded like your parents were great. Yeah, parents were great,
family were great. No, not in any. There's no particular defining moment, but we've all had people just be horrible to us. Yeah, just in general, people being, unpleasant, and and just it's so easy to reciprocate that. If somebody's shitty to you, you be shitty back, and it's what I do most of the time. But it's because my parents, the anger I have for the world blows my parents' minds because they're two very happy people, and they're like, "Why do you fucking hate everything?" And I'm like, "It's because of the high levels of empathy, but also the chronic logicalness of my father. Like, he's got a desperate need to be right all the time, but my mum has a desperate sort of need for everyone to be happy, and those two clash a lot because it's like if I meet someone who's wrong, they need to fucking know they're wrong, and the only way to explain it to them is by yelling at them. But when I yell at them, they get sad, and then the empathy kicks in, and that's
Well, I know that you've said that you really like debating. So is it mainly do you like debating because it allows you to just completely destroy a person, or does it help you understand their point of view, or has anyone ever convinced you that you had the wrong opinion?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not at the time. I'll never admit I'm wrong in the moment. Like I wish I was that good person that had the maturity to take a step back and go, oh, you know what, that is a good point. Good. Well, I'll be wrong in an argument. I'll know I'm wrong in an argument deep down. I'll change the subject, I'll yell, and then I'll not ever admit that I was wrong. But then in all future arguments, I'll just take that person's opinion and pretend it was mine the whole time.
Yeah, I do that with my wife.
Yeah, I find
1,000%.
it's the easiest way to self-improve without actually self-improving.
The only thing that sucks about it is I'll adopt my wife's position or her arguments and then say them to her as if they were my original thoughts.
Yeah.
And then I genuinely don't remember. I don't have a great memory, so she thinks that I'm gaslighting her. And it's created a lot of bad situations. She's like, "You're fucking with me." I'm like, I don't think. Are you fucking with me? And I think that's the main problem at this point. We used to only argue about getting married because let's see, actually tomorrow is our 5-year, so I was with her for 7 years before I proposed. And I always pointed to our friends that were like never got married for 10 years or didn't believe in it, and I was like, doesn't that seem like a great idea? And then we got past that, and now it's just my memory. Now we know.
And you were like, I always wanted to be married, and she's like, no, you fucking
didn't. You had massive trust issues. Your father said never get married,
even if I'm pregnant, which I am, by the
way. So I know that you've talked about in the past that you think that you're not improving in comedy unless you kind of hate your jokes from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because for me, Jigsaw is such a standout piece, and it's such a personal piece. Do you still have that mindset, or is it kind of maybe a toned down feeling where you're like, actually, I could have fucking tweaked that, or what is it for you?
Yeah, with Jigsaw, I'm able to go back and watch Jigsaw. I haven't recently, just because I'm not that much of a narcissist. Well, Jigsaw I've been able to watch back, and I'm able to sort of be proud of it in the sense I go, I've seen the impact of it. I've seen how it has changed people's lives, so that makes it a lot easier to be proud of. But yeah, it's the small bits. It's I know the show's good, and people go, I can't believe you don't like it. And I go, no. But you've seen one performance of the show. I've seen 300 performances of the show. Like I know exactly what I'm capable of and how good I can be. And especially, gets to a point where, especially with Jigsaw, we recorded it and then I still toured for like 3 months afterwards with the show. So there was just so many points where the show got better, and I was like, fucking should have recorded this one. And then
you peaked mid-season.
I peaked mid-season. Yeah. We filmed it then, and then but that's that's the fucking game. I know I should be prouder of my older work because I get really shitty about like X. I'll never watch X.
Really? Why is that?
Man, I performed that show 300 times in a year.
Okay, so it's just because you're burnt out on it.
Yeah,
it's not the quality.
Well, for me, it's not the quality. I know what the show X is, but I was traveling every single day. I was in a really bad fucking mindset on that tour because, I just wanted to do the best show every day, but it was just a lot of travel constantly. And like, I think at one point our routing was from like Lincoln, which is outside London, to Tokyo, to Singapore, to Hong Kong, to Australia for a week, to Iceland, to the rest of Europe. And that was so it's just... So whenever I think about X, that's what I take on board. I'm like, just that tour that nearly fucking killed me, and saying the same thing over and over again, because X had to be performed, or at least in my opinion, it had to be performed the same way every night, because it was such a heavy topic and such a, such a difficult topic to talk about in a right way that, you know, you bring up rape and sexual assault, whether I like it or not, it affects bare minimum 50% of the women in my audience, right? Right, just in some way or another. So I'm bringing up one of the most traumatic moments of these people's lives, whether I like it or not. I don't get to gauge how they react to that. That's fair. So I made sure that once the show got to a point where wasn't upsetting survivors, and it was going well, it had to just perform it the same way every night. And then that's when I stopped being a comedian. So I became a performer then, because it was just, you know, it was the same way every night, making sure the facial expressions were the same, the, you know, channeling the anger and everything every night. It felt like fucking Woody from Toy Story, just pulling my own, there's a snake in my boot stuff. So whenever I think about X, I know the show's great, and I've seen the impact of it, and it's been speaking to so many survivors, that's what helped me perform it and keep doing it every day. But for the time being, I can't. I've performed it 300 fucking times.
When I was researching and I saw your schedule, I thought it was a typo, because the number of shows and like the number of days was great. It was like, was it 300 shows in 200 days?
No, it was 300 shows in 18 months, I think.
Okay. Okay. But still, that's wild. Because it's not like you're like counting each like set that you're doing in like New York, like 20 minutes at a time.
No,
so
the show was, you know, it's fucking 90 minutes long as well, and it's So I'm still. I'm proud of my old work in a lot of ways, but I need to be far enough away from it to be able to look at it fairly and rationally. So
you talking about like being a performer versus kind of just a stand-up comedian at that point, do you prefer that now? Is it more fulfilling for you, or you're just or is there even a separation at this point? Because it feels like it is more performance-based now.
Depends on the type of comic. And look, it's always a performance, like especially when you're doing material. A lot of the time it's jokes you've told before. So the performance is convincing the audience that this is the first time that you've told the joke, or telling it in a way that keeps it fresh for you as a performer or as a comedian. But it's being a comedian, for me at least, is being in that room, being very, very present, you know, and being able to just do jokes about anything. Something happens in that room, being able to react to it then in that moment, and not being, I don't know, with X, it made me feel like an actor doing a show. I didn't feel like a comedian. Comedian for me is much fucking freer. I can talk about whatever the fuck I want. Like, we can say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. Whereas this was the opposite of that. I had to do the same. And it was a prison of my own making, and it was the show that I did want to do, and I was proud of it. But it was just, it was acting more than anything else.
So that kind of interests me, because you've talked about how, and it's not surprising, comedy is inherently tied to your level of happiness. It's the main thing for you. What is it? Because right now, obviously, at least in my eyes, this is like you're on a hockey stick, right? The popularity is just booming, booming, booming. What brings you the most joy out of it? Is it like for you crafting that piece that makes me go like, oh yeah, I'm really fucking killing it? Is it the size of the audience that you're performing in front of? And I'll explain why I want to ask that.
It's so many things. Well, I've watched stand up since I was 5 years old with my parents, right? That my mum and dad have loved comedy forever, and I would go to bed and I'd hear them laughing downstairs, and laughter was huge currency in my family. Like, we all like to make each other laugh. And I'm like, what is that that's making them laugh so much? So I went downstairs and they were watching, I think it was Jack D, and I pretended to be sick so that I could sit down and watch it with them and find out what this hilarious thing was. And I loved it. I was only laughing at the swear words. It was just, he was saying fucking shit and bastard, and I was like, this is a job? Like, you tell me this guy's job is to go on stage and swear into a fucking microphone and people applaud and cheer. This is the best. So I've just been a fan of it for so long. And also, man, making people laugh is a really nice feeling. Like, it really, it's in a powerful way. Like, it's, when I was younger, making people laugh got me out of trouble. Like, with whether it's parents or whether it's people at school or something, you do something shitty and then you make them laugh and they're more inclined to fucking forgive you. I've always enjoyed it. And I never in my life thought that I'd ever get to this stage. You know, I never thought I'd have Netflix specials or HBO shit. I never thought I'd get to, you know, not only gig in America, but to have arguably cracked America. It's insane. That brings me happiness. And then also, you know, it is the job I love. Like that's the thing I watched on television when I was 5 years old, and I'm doing it, and I'm one of the good ones as well. Like it's fucking. I find it so exciting.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I ask is like for you, if there is, because obviously you're living in the moment, but looking forward, is it the idea of doing stadiums? Is it the idea of having a show along the lines of like a Louis or like what Maron did?
I'm not sure. Like I'm open to. I don't want to do stadium tours just because anyone that can play stadiums, fair play to them. But I've seen comedy in stadiums. It's not as good. Like it's just you're watching a comedian on a big screen, and they're there and they're small.
Yeah.
And you've paid $120, and I don't. Yeah.
It's an energy thing.
It's an energy thing. It's just inherently not personal. You're on stage in front of 20,000 people. You can't. I don't care how good an artist you are. You can't make that feel personal. And it's not. I like comedy in fire hazards or you know, theaters. That's where it belongs. Acting wise and TV stuff, like it's the same problem I get every time I fucking come to LA, which is my agents have the patience of saints. Because they'll be like, when are you getting into acting? And I'm like, fucking, I don't know. At some point, I guess. And I go into auditions and they're like, can you do an American accent? And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you willing to learn one? And I'm like, no. Why would I? Why on earth would I want to sound stupid? Like, what are you talking?
Can you be someone else?
Yeah. Yes. Well, because man, I love comedy. I love stand up. Like that is my job. Now I do enjoy acting. I've done it before and it's been fun. But I know I'm not the best at acting. Right, I'm not the best actor in the world, and I'm never going to be the best actor in the world. If you want a really good actor, we're in LA. You'll find thousands upon thousands. Well, I'll never be better at acting than most actors. But what I am better at than most actors is comedy and comic timing. So, you know, in an ideal world, like the Aziz Ansari gig that he got in Parks and Rec, where they were just like, hey, we like you, we're just going to write a character around you. So if somebody was to write a character for a miserable Scottish cunt, that would be fucking ideal.
Yeah, and because like how deep is the roster for people that have cracked America then?
Because from the UK, we'll go Gervais.
Well, yeah.
Russell Brand, Jack Whitehall, and then Steve Coogan.
I saw a photo of you with Gervais. I know you talked about him, or in the sense of like he's a legend. Who out there right now do you really appreciate, like that you think has killed it or is still killing it?
I mean, Bill Burr is still always just one of my favorites.
He's someone that I would be scared to have on the podcast because are you familiar with Theo Von?
Yeah.
So I saw Theo Von and another YouTuber, Ethan Klein. They did this podcast together where for about 15 minutes they just talked about how they were like emotionally traumatized from their Bill Burr podcast because I guess he just went in on them. Oh, wow. And I was like, oh, fuck. I would also be emotionally destroyed. I don't think and when you were coming in, I was like, nah, I think he's on my side. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, no, I
want to get Bill Burr.
I'll only take you to task if you're in a shitty relationship that I think is pathetic.
No, we're good. I was like 13 years so far. We watched the special together. We loved it. Or at least that's what she said.
Yeah, good. You're still together, still good.
Yeah. It's communication. That's what we tell ourselves. But okay, so Bill Burr.
Bill,
dude, that's I will say I love seeing him on Conan.
Yeah,
I watched him on Colbert. Oh, it's just so weird because Bill Burr, you know, he's not PC in any way, and Colbert is definitely way more these days, and that's just and Conan can play it off. But you also, I think you have a love for Conan, right? Did he help bring you up?
Yeah, well, he's a love for me. I mean, I wouldn't have the career I had in America if it wasn't for Conan O'Brien. I did my first ever Conan spot in like 2012 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was 22 or 23, and the booker had come to Edinburgh, and he'd seen my show. I was like, "Do you want to do Conan?" I was like, oh, "Fucking obviously," and went over to do it. And the whole time I was like, "It's not going to happen." Like I was like, something's going to happen, and I'm like, it's just too good to be true. Like in what fucking world is this little Scottish boy flying over to Los Angeles to do the Conan O'Brien show? There's no way that's true. And we get there and we're backstage, and I'm like, something's gonna fucking happen, and I'm not gonna get my spot. And then Nelson Mandela died, and I was like, I fucking knew it, man. I fucking, like, everyone grieving for one of the greatest men that ever lived because he's gone, and there's me being a selfish little prick and being like, fucking, why do you have to die today? And people are like, we agree. I'm like, no, not in the nice way. I'm being a dick about this. But it still went. So, oh man, I was horrible. I was like, fucking, God damn it, Nelson, my one opportunity. But the show still went ahead. Conan did a lovely little bit on top. And then the gig went really well. So well that afterwards Conan was like, saying to the booker, get him back on tomorrow. Oh wow! And he was like, no, like we'll let him come back on. But ever since then, every time I've been over, he's allowed me to come on the show. He like behind closed doors, like really fucking championed me. Like Warner Brothers and stuff got me a development deal there. That yeah, it didn't amount to anything, but like man, he was just a young Scottish comic. He really just could not have been. More happy to help and just and never looking for thanks. It was never anything like that. He just he really supports comedy and young comics. And
is it, in your experience, is that kind of an outlier, or is the whole community or pockets of the community supportive? It seems like because it's a solo deal, it'd be very easy for like egos to take over and for it to be kind of cutthroat. But I don't know. But also you see, especially I feel like but you see it showcased on podcasts of comedians supporting one another. So I don't know.
Most of my experience is, comedians are 9 times out of 10 lovely. I mean, they're all, most of them are mentally ill. Like that's why we get into it. But no, it's largely supportive. Occasionally you do get the pricks in it. You feel like, a lot of the time, especially in comedy, you get people that they weren't a lot of people that weren't popular in high school and didn't like not being popular in high school, and it felt like we didn't belong. And then you get into this job where suddenly you are the cool kids, and sometimes you'll find comedians who were like that, and then they just become the bullies that they were in high school. But it's not a majority. Most of the people I've met, so supportive, especially in the States as well. So happy to have you on, and so happy to see that you're doing well. In Scotland, it's very supportive. Like, I'm doing well, and everyone seems, they might be lying to my face, but I think I'm a good judge of character.
When I'm in the room, it's great.
Yeah. Everyone seems very, very happy.
When there was a story about you touring. Well, there wasn't a story. It was actually just a quick line, and I wanted to learn more about it. When you were touring in Russia, you started doing a joke, and then you realized that there was no sex education there.
Yeah, well, I got a gig in Moscow, and I was doing the show X, and obviously in X the dark topic in it, or the not necessarily controversial, but the bit that splits the room is the stuff on rape and sexual assault. And before that, I've just got stuff on sex education. So then I'm doing it in Russia, and I get to the sex education, and they sort of seize up there. And I'm like, what the fuck is this about? Like, we don't have sex education here. So I'm like, fucking, this isn't even the controversial part of the show. And it's become the controversial part of the show. And I've done gigs in like Eastern Europe and stuff, in Slovakia and Slovenia, where they don't have it, but that's Slovakia and Slovenia. You're like, yeah, okay, I understand that you don't have sex education, but like Russia, you're such a big country. You're like one of the, you're a first world country. How can you not have this sex education? But to them it was completely fucking normalized. The fact that we have sex education was absolutely insane to them, and it just resulted me lying on the ground, just in my head going, how the fuck am I gonna? Like if I've upset you by the concept of sex education, how upset are you going to be by the concept of women consenting to things? Right. But no, my audience everywhere I go was, they loved it and they understood.
So with that, did you all of a sudden then have to explain what it's normally taught? Or?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I mean, it's as if your sex education in America is.
Well, there's some places that they're like abstinence only.
Yeah. What sex education did you get?
I think it was just like basic like slides on a projector, and there was like, oh, okay, that's a penis, and everyone laughs, and they're like, that's a vagina, and you're like, ah ha ha, and then it's completely misconstrued because I feel like we had one class one time, and they were like, You got it, right?
Yeah, you learn the thing. And if you miss the class, then sorry, you're just never going to learn how to
Yeah,
fuck.
and I think that, like, there are a few people that have done like kind of really funny, instructional videos for more like young adults that are like safe for work sort of stuff. But yeah, that was mine. What was yours?
Our sex education was we got it in Scotland. The first one we got, we were about 10 years old, and it was just them being like, penis goes in the vagina, and all the kids are sort of giggling and stuff. And there's a standard thing, I don't know if they do it over here, but in the UK they teach you how to put on condoms it's bananas and condoms.
Okay.
And you gotta pinch the tip and roll it down. And in hindsight, I know why the teacher did what she did, but I think it was a miscalculation on her part, which was they were trying to, they were talking about masturbation, and obviously as a little boy, you're like, right, I've heard that this is going to be a big part of my life. You know what masturbating is. You've heard about the older kids that have masturbated and how it was great for them. And we're in the class, and the teacher asks the sex education teacher, who in the class here has tried masturbating before? And one of the 11-year-olds put his hand up, and we were like, holy fucking Jed, you put your hand up. And then our teacher put her hand up, right? Which in hindsight, I understand. She's like, women masturbate, we're sexual beings, it's entirely fucking normal, it's not weird, it's not unusual. She was trying to instill that in our heads, which was a good message. Man, we were 10 years old. We were like, she wanks? What? This is such hot news. And then that became when we discovered masturbation.
So that's actually, that feels like that's kind of like a positive experience, because
they teach you and then later on in high school they teach you more about why it works, but it's not perfect.
It's so disconnected from like my mind now, because I remember, because I have a 5 and a 2-year-old, and they're both boys, so I'm just like, oh shit, okay, so that's going to be a conversation we're going to have. They're going to go through their own thing, and it makes me think like what's going to be different for them, other than things like the internet, right? That being a massive differentiator. Yeah. But I was raised Catholic growing up, and then I eventually stopped. But I remember when I first discovered masturbation, the level of guilt, the level of like, I'm gonna die, like, or I'm gonna go to hell because of this thing, but I can't stop. It was like the first time. Like I think back of like, okay, that's like an addict, like because you're just like, I know this is wrong, but I'm immediately gonna go.
It's mad. Christianity has a lot to fight. How can you ruin wanking for teenagers? It's all they have. It's how dare you ruin masturbation for 13-year-old boys, making them feel guilty. That should be the time. This is the only way to get it out. It's like bleeding the radiator. You've got all your fucking hormones in you.
Yeah, get the poison out.
Yeah, you gotta fucking get it out. That's the only reason I didn't murder people, was because I didn't have time, because I was masturbating.
It's the great equalizer, I think.
It really, really is. And this is obviously such a fucking Christian country. I didn't realize how common that would be over here.
It's hard to tell, because it's definitely, it feels like in this moment generational. Although being in California, it's very easy to be like, oh wow, things have changed, and you're like, oh no, just this place, this place. And then I go home and I'm like, oh, they think everyone here is crazy, and on half the stuff they're kind of right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey there. I hope you're still enjoying the podcast, or I guess thank you for leaving the podcast on. It's probably helping us with an algorithm somewhere. But I want to thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of A Conversation With, Raycon. And let's be honest, everyone needs a great pair of wireless earbuds. And before you go out and you're dropping hundreds of dollars on a pair, you need to check out Raycon earbuds first. They start at about half the price of any other premium wireless earbuds from the other top audio brands on the market without sacrificing any of the sound quality. And their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are definitely my favorite. With 6 hours of playing time, a compact carrying case that can charge your earbuds 4 times with just a single charge, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a compact design, it really is just a bonus that they're so stylish and come in so many fun colors. And they actually sent me a pair to test out. They have become my regular ones because they are so comfortable, right? Whether I'm listening to music, whether I'm taking important phone calls on the go, it's just so much easier. And that's without mentioning how compact they are. I mean, it's nice to be able to just put it in my pocket. It's not bulky. I don't have to have a backpack with me at all times. You just pop them in their sleek, minimal case, and you go. So really the question becomes, what are you waiting for? Raycon earbuds are not only comfortable, but stylish too, and they sound amazing. And so if you want to join me in owning a pair of your own, click the link in the description down below, or head on over to buyraycon.com/conversation to get 15% off your wireless earbuds today. But with that said, here we go back to the podcast goodness. Wait, so Can you tell me about this book that you're working on, or it's coming out, or
Yeah, it's still working on it, and it is coming out. It's out on the 3rd of November, which is obviously election day.
It's the most important thing happening that day.
I figure, you know what? Why not compete for the media's attention?
What is that release date?
Because it's being released in America, so I'm going to be, I was going to be over here anyway. I don't know.
You don't want to release it on fucking Christmas or?
Nah, man. People look on that day. People need to fucking laugh.
Okay,
that's my logic. You know.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, just have people outside of polling stations
and just being
like, here.
Regardless of how this goes, this will cheer you up. Unless you're.
Don't worry. There's a 30% chance there's going to be a civil war. Go for it.
Yeah. Just enjoy the book. It's called "Everyone You Hate Is Going to Die," and other comforting thoughts on relationships and family stuff. Yeah, it's just basically because obviously now that I am the relationship guru, naturally, given my history of destroying relationships, they were like, "Do you want to write a book on different types of relationships?" So it's it's me writing a bunch of my horrible opinions on things along with some stories, and then the standard thing I do, which is the occasional nice profound line in there, but massively drowned out by the word cunt.
Actually, no, that's perfect then, because I know that you've talked about you love that Australians and in the UK people can kind of just like throw out that word and it's normal and it's fine, but if you say cunt in America, there's a massively different reaction, and so I wanted to know for you what is that word like?
Over here, the reason it's offensive is because swearing in America is very binary. Right? You're not creative with your swearing. You stub your toe and you'll say shit, and your swear words mean one thing. Like, so cunt over here means vagina, which, all right, I guess. In Scotland, cunt means person, it means child, it means thing. It's, you can be a good cunt or you can be a bad cunt, but your status as cunt is not up for negotiation. Like, it's the word itself. Over here, I find, like, words have power, whereas, at least from my experience, everywhere else it's the intent. Like, if I call you a cunt with a smile on my face, why on earth are you upset? Like, I clearly don't mean it. But people here, they just hear the word and they have that binary reaction going, that's a bad word, I'm not going to... And it's... don't get me wrong, it's insane because these are the people that are giving the word power. If people stop if Americans didn't react so hard to the word cunt, I probably wouldn't say cunt as much. Like, but you're giving it power. Like, and the only reason swear words have power is because grown adults who are allowed to vote and have opinions on things get so upset by a syllable. A single fucking syllable is enough to cause them to lose their minds. And then the kids that are in it, kids who do not give a fucking shit about swearing, I may add. If you've ever sworn in front of a toddler, look how hard they laugh. Like, they know it's bad. But they then watch these grown adults, their grandparents or their parents, hearing the word shit or fuck or cunt and freak out, and they suddenly go, what is that word? How does it have so much power? Whereas people didn't react to it as the way they did then. It'd be less interesting. It
feels like there's a very limited, narrow way that Americans can say it. Like, if I know that I've used it in a show, and my my stupid rule was like, okay, we can only say that about a guy, but then still people get angry. I remember one woman got really angry, and she was like, saying cunt is like the N-word for women. And I was like, whoa, test that out for me real quick.
It's a very, very good John Mulaney bit, which is if you're comparing the severity of two words and you can't even say one of the words, that's the more offensive word.
Exactly.
And no, cunt is, man, it's a term of endearment where I come from. Like, my mum calls me it sometimes. And like, it's, I think Americans, I talk about this in my show, but Americans you're very bad at swearing. That's why I think you get upset by swearing, because you're so phenomenally fucking shit at it. And I know there'll be people from New York and Chicago and Boston being like, nah, we can do it. You all suck at swearing. And it's because Americans' vowels are long. When I swear as a Scottish person, it's fuck, shit, cunt. It's very short for me. It doesn't stand out in the sentence. It's like it's just part of it. Whereas when Americans swear, they elongate their vowels. So they go can't, fuck, and it stands out.
You're planting a flag with that word.
Yeah. And you go, this is the main part. I'm drawing all the attention to the word cunt in this sentence. Everyone look at the word cunt and people go, oh, don't like that word. Whereas if I say the word cunt in most sentences, it's at the start, and by the time I get to the end of the sentence, you forgot I fucking said it because I didn't make a show and dance about it.
Are there other things? It's like anytime anyone comes, like wasn't born here, I always love to ask, what do you think is the weirdest thing about America?
Like I've never in my life met a normal American. There's no such thing as a normal American. Every single one of you is set to 11 at all times, and it's not a bad thing. Like, I think Americans are genuinely friendly. Like some of the friendliest people in the world. You just every single one of you just sitting there, ready to be nice to someone. You know, you just sort of ooze kindness and positivity, but you also simultaneously like ignorantly rude. Like whenever an American does a shitty thing, it's not because they're a bad person, it's because they're a fucking idiot, and somehow that's sometimes more annoying. Like if somebody's a piece of shit to you in Scotland, you're like, oh, he's just a dick. Whereas if somebody's a dick to you in America, you're like, I'm gonna have to teach a grown man a lesson now. Like this is the only country in the world. This is the only country in the world where, as a comedian, audience members will woo, which is just woo, and it's mind-boggling how I'm like, what? Do I have to explain why that's the rudest thing in the world? You're watching a comedy show, a show that's based on timing, fucking nuance, building tension in the room, and you agree with something, and you can't just nod your head. You can't just silently go, I agree with this point. You can't even just fucking clap or patiently wait until the woo! It's the and I can't explain it. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And they're like, why is he yelling at me? I'm like, you interrupt. There are people around you that you just Ric Flaired in the ear.
Is there a place in the States that you feel that the most? My only experience
Boston would a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say Chicago for me, but
no, Boston would a lot, and it was so frustrating because it was during when I was touring X. So I'm doing the routine at the end about sexual assault and rape, and it's women they're agreeing with me, and I'm going, I can't. I'm empowering them to feel empowered, so they're wooing it, but they're fucking up the timing of the whole thing. I'm like, this is a script, come on, and it's the only place it happens. Everywhere else.
What is then, to go the opposite end? What's your least favorite thing about the States?
Oh, it's so hard. I love America. I do really enjoy America.
We all hate ourselves, so you're not going to offend anybody.
But I think, yeah, and you should. You're going through a shitty time, and I get it. It's you guys finally have some perspective on yourselves, and it's nice to watch you become self-aware. Slowly.
I really do like that. Brexit happened right before, and we're like, man, that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
Nothing would ever happen here.
Yeah. And then we had our general election where Britain doubled down, and they were like, absolutely. Not only we were given the second chance, Brexit twice, actually.
Yes, what Boris said.
Yeah. Once more, and this time with feeling. And I reckon you guys will do the same in November. So
That's what you think's going to happen?
I think so, based on my limited knowledge in politics and my I figure if you don't, then I'll have to accept that you are a better country than the UK, because you go, hey, we learned our lesson. Whereas Britain was just like, fuck it, double down. I feel like you guys would do the same.
I think we just don't know what's going to happen, because no one believes anything anymore, whether it be polls or just what anyone's saying. They're just like, no, what my team said. Yeah. That's it. That's where we're at.
I've finally come off of Twitter. I got.
Oh wait, so you're just not?
No, I've got it. Like my agent will post on it for to plug shows and whatever. Yeah. But man, it just became. I was sitting in my own echo chamber, and then that standard thing that we liberals do, which is we only follow people that agree with us, and then the world doesn't go the way we thought, and we're like, ha! It's almost as if this isn't that. That's so fucking weird. And I was just sick of being disappointed.
Well, I think Twitter, I think you've talked to a certain degree. Twitter just makes me like angry and sad. And then, although you've said that Instagram just makes you hate individuals rather than everyone.
Yeah.
Which I get.
Instagram makes me hate my fucking fans, man.
Really?
Oh, God, my fans are morons. Like, I'd say 50% of them. And then the other 50% are the dumbest motherfuckers on this planet, and it's infuriating. Because I'll plug shows and like I'll release an entire fucking schedule of where I'm going. I'm like, when are you going to Australia? Go on the fucking website. Go on the fucking. If you can't work out how to see me live, you don't get to see me live. That's the game.
That's the gate.
That's the thing. If you cannot work out, where do I always sell my shows? Is it on my fucking website? Well, here's your guess. I reckon that's where all of my tour dates are going to be. I posted up like after the end of the X tour, we had like the full list of all 300 shows in a file. So I posted all 300 and with the caption "finally done," and 50% of the comics were being like, why is Washington not on this list? I'm like, this is the old tour. This is the one I've just fucking finished. And they're like, well, I can't believe you're not coming back to Slovakia. They don't read. They don't pay attention. They want spoon-fed the shit. And I'm sat there going, I thought I was an intelligent comedian.
Well, I thought
I harbored intelligent fans. Nope.
Well, you can't, 50, I feel like 50%, 50 to 70% is all you can ever really count on.
Oh,
You're just like, because you look at the average person, right? I forget whose bit that is. You look at the average person, and then 50% of people are stupider than that.
Yeah, George Carlin, yeah.
Oh, yeah. How do I forget a George Carlin quote?
There's a question for you. Do you love your fans? Because everyone in LA says they love their fans. And I'm like, no, you don't. You've clearly not
You mean
met.
my friends? No, I mean, actually, so I would say my experiences, I only base it off of in person. And so in person,
my fans are the sweetest cunts alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, so that's all I ever, and it's always like very chill, very, like I have friends that have much, much younger audiences. Mine's 18 to 35-year-olds usually. So it's kind of like, hey, appreciate what you did. Bye. I see you with your kids. Gonna respect that.
Yeah.
Whereas, I have friends that get swarmed in the mall. It's very ugly. But no, in general, it's good.
My ones are good. They often bring me marijuana over here, which I appreciate greatly, and they seem to be mostly nice. But yeah, it's the online ones are just
It's just the Wild West, and it's not gonna stop. There's no way to control it.
No, that's a fair point.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about two things coming up. One, tattoos, because I was unaware of your first tattoo until 3 days ago, and it is a bold jump, your Joker tattoo on your back. And
which is funny because I got the Joker tattoo before he became like the fucking logo of the incels. Like it's, man, I love the Joker, like the character genuinely, because and because of the new movie, I just sound like such a fucking 4chan bloke. But I got into comic books when I got into stand-up comedy, because there was a comic book shop beside a comedy club pretty much in Scotland, and I started reading the Joker, and in Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, which that tattoo is based off of, he was a stand-up comedian before he became the Joker, and I just really liked that. I really liked Alan. I love the graphic novel itself, and I like that message of, I think we're all one bad gig away from becoming a mass murdering psychopath. I think we all have the capabilities. It all it requires is one bad day. That was the whole message of the thing. So I got that tattoo there because I always wanted to, and and then it just had less and less of a meaning over the years.
Have you ever thought, so if it has less and less of a meaning,
man, I still love it. And I also, man, I don't care where it was. I enjoyed the Joker movie. I thought it was fucking great.
Yeah, I think most people are. I think that was one of those weird moments where it was getting bashed by critics for being this like crazy other thing. And it was like, it's a movie, man.
It was a really nice movie. Joaquin Phoenix was really fucking good at it. The one bit that I did find weird, and this is just as a comic, is there's no way in the fucking world a talk show host would go, here's a video of some cunt bombing. Like, that's not. You imagine Conan O'Brien like sees me like having a shit 5-minute spot at the fucking cellar, and it's just like, who wants to see Sloss bomb? Yeah, I'll put it on live television. Why the fuck would I not? That was the one bit where I was like, really? Okay.
I like that that's what took you out of the movie. You're like, everything else, I'm on board.
Yeah. I think we could all be, driven to murder. But that bit, I'm like that was your 5-minute segment? You just shat on another comic? All right.
How much thought did you have to put into it? Because they say like, what? It was like, think about the tattoo, get it in a week or something like that.
Oh, man, what was it? No. I mean, yeah, sure.
Well, you have multiple tattoos now.
Yeah, the amount of people that go, you're going to regret your tattoos. I go, man, fucking, at least they're regrets I can see. Do you know how many regrets make me scream in the shower? when it just creeps up, you remember the fucking time you were 7 years old and you called the teacher mum, and you just relive that horrible. Like, that's a regret that just sometimes pops up in the back of my head. Occasionally, I'll look at my Nikola Tesla tattoo and I'll be like, all right, okay, well that was a bit of a dumb decision, but here we go. I still enjoy it.
I was like, what'd you get that one for?
I just think Nikola Tesla was one of the greatest men that ever lived, and massively underappreciated because fucking who's your guy that you think invented light bulbs? Thomas Edison. that old idea thief and cunt. So he was the one that just destroyed.
It's all about who gets the credit, man.
It is. It absolutely is. So I got that one, and also one of my favorite movies is The Prestige.
Yeah.
David Bowie plays Nikola Tesla in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What I heard you have one tattoo that's for your mom.
Yeah, this one. So my mum wrote a kid's book when she was pregnant with me called Anthony and the Aardvark. That's what that little thing that looks like a testicle is. It's meant to be an aardvark. So she wrote the book when it was pregnant with me, and it sold about, I'm going to say 7 copies worldwide, because it was just a little hobby that she did. And my mum has always been immensely supportive of my career, disgustingly supportive of my career. But she also fucking hates my tattoos. She hates when I get tattoos because she'll just be like, no, it's my baby boy. That's my skin. Why are you ruining yourself? So I wanted to see like what would happen. Just the unstoppable force be the immovable object. Like the unstoppable force of my mum hates tattoos versus the immovable object of I'm honouring something that she put a lot of work in that represents me. And I just wanted to see what her reaction was. She cried. She cried.
Happy sad.
Yeah, she was like, that's so stupid, but it's really, really sweet. I'm like, perfect, that's what I go for. Stupid but sweet.
She's like, but that's the only arm I like.
Yeah. And then the ones here, that's Calvin and Hobbes. And there's a movie called Drop Dead Fred with Rick Mayall, which is just my favourite childhood movie. God, and
I feel like it's been like how many years? Was that released 25 years ago or something?
Yeah, like I remember I ruined the VHS of Drop Dead Fred when I was young, just because I watched it on repeat so many fucking times because I loved Rick Mayall. Yeah, and then the other thing, because I wanted to talk about tattoos, but then also your knitting. Because I learned over the past like few months that you and your buddy and fellow comic Kai have gotten really into it. Yeah, we basically in a heated toxic masculinity debate. It was just me and Kai were drunk and I was like, I'm better at everything than you are, and he was like, no, I'm better at everything than you are. You know the way men talk to each other. We're just talking about who's vastly superior, and. We were like, we should find something that neither of us are good at and see who can become the best at it. Because he was like, his argument was that my focus is better than yours. His argument against me was that I'll focus on something for 2 months, get good at it, and then once I'm good at it, stop because I've decided I'm good at it, whereas he'll commit. I'm like, fuck off, not a chance. I bet you, let's see who can knit each other the best sweater by Christmas. And he won. He absolutely won. He absolutely fucking trounced me. His one was I managed to do him a nice one. It was a big fucking green one where it was based on the Grinch. So it had like furry wrist and furry cuff and furry ring around the hood that it had. And my moronic online fans were posted a photo of Kai in it, and they're like, "Ha! It looks like the Grinch." And you go, "It's because he was made to look like the Grinch." But his one was, man, he fucking learned how to sew an image like a man, 7 different colors, different textures in the wool as well. So like different part of it, he fucking destroyed me.
Or do you still do it, or did you kind of drop off?
I've not done it recently, but I do want to get back into it because it's incredibly cathartic. Like it's another it's like meditation, but without
you're doing it. So I figure we can give you this. Though.
Oh, I could absolutely. That's amazing.
I was like, maybe that'll give him some peace.
It will. That's a good word too. That's amazing. Yeah, because it just becomes this massively cathartic thing of like your eyes are focused on it and your hands are fucking focused. And so your mind's just sort of free to wander because it's basically three fucking movements, in over the top, so you can just sit there. And when you start, you can't really watch television or do anything else while you're doing it. You're just sitting there. And it's essentially what meditation is, which is just sitting there and you allow your mind to wander and you don't get distracted. You physically can't pick up your phone to do anything about it. So just find it very, very peaceful.
Would you say that's kind of like the last thing as an adult that you've learned?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we stop learning shit when we're like 18.
100%. And it's especially, it's so hard to self-educate. Like it's, I really try, because I'm very aware of how fucking dumb I am when it comes to things. I try to read intelligent books, but they're so long and so boring. Like I get 30%. I'm like, okay, like it's not a self-improvement book, but you know, one of those books where you go, man, if I just read this, imagine if all of this knowledge was in my head, how much of a better person I'll be. I'll get 30% of the way through a book and be like, I've retained none of that information.
You're just like forcing yourself. Like, okay, I see the words, but it's just going.
I started taking notes like I was in fucking class. That's why I have to read some like books about facts now, as I sit there with a notebook, because writing it out makes me retain the information a little bit better. But yeah, man, it sucks becoming an adult because nobody forces you to improve anymore.
Yeah, it's on you.
It's on you.
Yeah.
And why would you when we're all perfect?
The moment I realized, I'm not a capable adult, was I was in college and I was like, yeah, one semester I could probably do online college. Like I'll just go, I don't need to go to the class and hear a teacher. Never did it.
Yeah.
Never did it. Because it's almost impossible to hold yourself accountable unless it's like a doctor telling you you're going to die.
And then you're like, okay,
there's a 50% chance.
Yeah, I'll go for a second opinion and find out what the other doctor says. And if he says anything different, I'm going to believe him more than I'll believe you.
Yeah, 2 months ago, I finally got a general doctor, and he was like, just so you know, like, you're obese and you need to fix it. And I was like, fine. It's not like a surprise. I was like, wait a second.
No.
This isn't supposed to be a human?
This isn't peak.
But then it was just like, okay. And I realized that in that way, I have not grown past being essentially a teenager, where I was like, I need a position of authority to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, because you get to a point outside of your like relationship, who tells you to do anything that you're just like, yes, I have to do that.
No, I don't. I don't react well to being told to do things. Like,
what, you?
Yeah, no. I'm normally so affable and likable. My mum always used to say when I signed with my agent originally, she was like, if you want Daniel to do something, ask him to do it once, and if you never want him to do it, ask him twice. The second it feels like, which is a horrible stance to have. Like I should be a much better person than this, but here we are. My agent's good. She'll get me to do things. I'm quite good at self-motivation.
Okay.
For stuff I want to do. Like, but it's just, all I want to do is stand up. So it's, I can write a new show every year quite easily because I love what I do. Writing the book was quite easy because I wanted to do it. But getting me to do something I don't want to do, I don't think a person out there exists that can do it, because what you either have to threaten me with something or reward me with something.
With an agent, you have the carrot, right? It's like, hey, this will be good for you.
Yeah, but also my agent gets annoyed at me because I'm living the dream. I get to tour the world doing stand-up comedy. Everything else they want me to do is extra, and I'm like, I don't give a shit about that. They're like, yeah, but if you come to LA for like 6 months, you might get an acting job. And I'm like, yeah, but if I don't live in LA for 6 months, I won't have to live in LA for 6 months, so there's a bonus.
I mean, as far as hobbies, though, I heard recently, or not, I don't know how recent, that you've gotten really into fitness. Is that accurate?
Oh, not really into fitness, but like on the last tour, man, I was just drinking and smoking weed every day. Like I didn't go to the gym for 18 months, and I enjoy being in shape. I was in shape when I was like 23, and because I was single, and I don't know. I just like being in shape. It was a good fucking feeling. It filled me with confidence. And then comedy filled me with confidence. And I was like, I don't need to be in shape anymore. I get my ego from elsewhere. And then just after the fucking tour, like I found myself getting into a slump. And I know that had I gone to the gym every day on tour, or at least like 3 times a week, that would have been much better for my mental health. So now it's this is me not massively getting into fitness. I'm just trying to adult myself a little bit better. Like just going, hey, just go to the gym 3 times a week. It's not about getting into shape. It's not about getting fucking shredded. But just go to the gym 3 times a week. If it's 45 minutes on a fucking treadmill, however boring it is, just get into the habit of it, because it's a thing that adults do. And you're an adult now. And when you go to the shops, order a glass of water first. And if you want juice after the water, you're allowed juice after the water, but you have water first. And then especially out here, just being like, no pancakes for lunch or breakfast. Just try and not have pancakes for a fucking meal. Have something slightly healthier. So I'm trying to just get a little bit better with health stuff just for myself. I'm not going to get swole. I don't think outside of Joel Kim Booster, I don't think any comedian should be ripped.
You feel like it's like off-putting? It's hard to...
Joel's just very handsome, man. He suits being ripped, but like, it's I don't know. It just seems a bit off. I'm like, why are you buff? What happens if we don't laugh at the jokes? You're gonna like, what is?
I love.
I'm like, we were the ones that were bullied in school. Why do you look like the bully? What is this?
I love when someone, like, you don't see someone for 6 to 9 months, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, you can tell that they did massive amounts of steroids, and it's like, who are you? Are you familiar with, I probably shouldn't, wait, who were you going to say?
I was going to say, they're not steroids, but Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, well, that was wild.
Got mad. Well, that's good on it. I know it's for a Marvel movie, but fucking, look, he was always a handsome man, but oh boy.
Yeah, I saw him at, I want to say, was it RTX, or I don't know, maybe it was a South by. He did a premiere for that movie he did with Dave Bautista.
Stuber.
Yeah, and he came out, and his arms were like, I was like, he has to be in a Marvel movie. No one's arms just get like that. And then I saw the news.
That would be the ideal gig. I'd love to, if Marvel could hire me to play a fucking superhero, that'd be an excellent excuse to get into shape. It must be nice, but I got into a relationship with someone who loved me for who I am. So what's the point? Yeah, I know, they're the fucking worst.
It feels like you're at a point where you need more emotional baggage, more emotional damage,
man,
right?
I'm running out of traumas to cash in on. Like, it's really like, sister died, cashed in on that. In a horrible toxic relationship, cashed in on that. Thought I was a sociopath, cashed in on that. Sexual assault, did a show about that. If my mum needs to get cancer, or my dad needs to die in a car crash, or just if something awful could please happen.
Please happen. I need to get knocked off this pedestal for new content.
My entire family being wiped out by coronavirus, and me being like, fuck. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out about it right now. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We're talking about it now. I think there are like 200 or so cases in the States. It's expected that might jump to like 5,000 next week. So it's like, cool.
It's an exciting time.
Great for Costco though. It's like, we can't keep shit on the shelves. This is great for business.
It's been I genuinely, that's another reason why I came off Twitter. I'm like, I'd rather just not know too much information. I'd rather just die.
Yeah.
And just go, all right, well, that's me gone.
That was a surprise.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
For 5 months.
Yeah, instead of panicking every single day up until then. Ignorance is absolute bliss.
Because we want 2 stops, right?
Wait, let me see if I can actually find.
Oh yeah. Actually, and I'll be right back. That could actually be fun to do, because I get the only piece I get is doing the dishes.
Yeah,
I'm just like, okay, this is nice. I could just stick it in the dishwasher, but
it's a good one, because like, you just learn to do. You obviously start off with scarves because they're the easiest thing in the fucking world to do, and then
because just straight line.
Yeah, just back and forth, and then your missus will love it. Like, they just a man, for some reason, a man knitting and doing something.
I think it's just the art of setting low expectations. I fixed a faucet yesterday, and you would have thought I fucking lifted a car in front of my wife. Like, she was just amazed, and I was like, wow, I really have set the bar so low, and also never gonna get a fucking handyman if you're like this impressed by basic tasks. You took back to it. It seems like really quickly.
It's like riding a bike.
It's
except not as cool.
You're not really going anywhere. It's the opposite. No. You want to stay in place for a few hours.
It's it's literally just through, over, under, off. It's the whole fucking maneuver.
Through my mother-in-law, I've learned there's like whole like really supportive communities, both online and in person. Like, every day she goes to this knitting club.
It's amazing. Like, when we because when me and Kai started, we were getting a train up to, I think, Manchester in the UK. And it was really, really tough for us to learn how to knit because we learned by watching YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And so it was me, my friend Kai, his wife, Natalie, and we were watching these YouTube videos. And in the first YouTube video, it was a woman doing it. And she was going, this, and it was just too fast. She was just explaining it in the way that women explain things, which is once, and then how on earth have you not gotten this immediately? So she goes, so you do this, and me and Kai go, what the fuck are you talking about? And Natalie's just immediately knitting beside us. And we're like, what are you doing? And so we rewind it and we slow it down and we still can't work it out. And I'm like, fuck this bitch. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So we changed to another YouTube video and it's another woman and she does the same fucking thing. And Natalie goes, oh, okay. And she's just knitting beside us. And me and Kai, like literally 1 second play, doing it and then going back and we're going, this is too fast, this is impossible, like it just can't be done. Then we finally got to a man explaining knitting, and God, he explained it so slow. And it was just, and I was like, fucking maybe there are these just profound differences. Because he was just, okay, so through the back, and we're like, and he goes, over the top, and we're going, oh, and Natalie's going, is that how slow you need things explained to you? I'm like, yes. It's the only way I can retain information. Talk to me like I'm a moron, because I'm a moron. Yeah,
I'll read a line, be like, okay, got it in my head, stare at you, be like, what the fuck was I gonna say? Learn a line.
I think it's a horrible thing to suddenly come to terms with how dumb you are sometimes.
Oh yeah,
those crystallizing moments. Because it
just makes me question any witness in like a trial ever. I'm like, yeah, you remember? you remember that shit that happened across the street in crystal clear detail?
I can't remember my wife's birthday, so unlikely.
Oh man. So kind of last two things that I want to do. One, I know that we talked about Russia, sex education, and I was hoping that we could get a Daniel Sloss 60 to 120 second Birds and the Bees. Like because if it doesn't exist out there, there's not proper sex education. It needs to happen.
Oh, okay, I can do it. I love this row.
I was like, is it made better if he's literally knitting?
Oh, just doing it.
No.
You doing it while knitting like a grab.
No, I'll let you do it.
Birds and the Bees in under 2 minutes. With this one?
Yeah, you can go direct.
When a human being loves another human being of age, they can either choose to make love or they can choose to fuck. Both have profoundly different aspects to them, but they're both ultimately the same. Making love involves eye contact, knowing their name, lots of breathing in their scent. You lay your man or your lady down. You find the desired hole that you want to stick your thing in, or that you want something stuck in. You both consent to it. And if we're going to go traditional P and a V, this is a P, this is a V, straight up there. If you're that way inclined, not the first time, don't be, save something for the honeymoon, but straight off the bat, that's always a good start. I don't know if it's wise to make love first, because I think fucking is important. Fucking is still, nice and consensual, but it's just a bit more carnal. It's the animalistic side. It's less let's make a baby together and more let's make a fucking mess together.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I liked how it was for everyone.
It is for everyone, yeah, man. Look, you could fuck whatever hole that you want, as long as it says yes and is over the age of 18. What's the legal age of consent in this country?
I think it ranges state by state, but I think 18's a solid.
That sounds American.
When when people start throwing out the state facts, they're like, well, in this state, I'm like, how do you know?
Yeah. Why is you telling me? Actually, in Alabama, it's 15. You're like, I don't. It's gross that you.
I was like, I cover the news, and sometimes stories like that come up, and I do not remember the dates. Like how old you can be. And then the last thing, we always kind of ask, what's the best advice that you've been given, or what's the kind of, and honestly, it could even go the other way, right? Yeah. There's a lot of bad advice that has gotten thrown around that you could share.
I think the worst advice I've ever been given, or just bad advice that I fundamentally disagree with, is that there's any set path to success. When I started comedy in Scotland, I was told you've got to move to Manchester, you've got to move to London to have a career in comedy, right? You can't have a comedy career in the UK if you're in Scotland. That can't happen. And then I had a career in the UK while living in Scotland. And then the same thing happened when in America. They're like, if you want to make it in America, you have to come to Hollywood, or you have to go to New York, and you have to do it this way, otherwise you'll never make it in America. And I still currently reside in Scotland, where I'll live for the rest of my life, and no amount of money will ever get me to leave it. And not because I dislike America, but just I don't believe you have to, just because somebody did something one way doesn't mean you have to emulate what they did. You should be continuously choose your own path, and if it feels right for you, do that. Yes, there are people with more experience, but sometimes they're blinded by their experience, right? They've seen 10 people win a race one way, so they cannot fathom somebody doing it in another way. And it's always the outliers that are more impressive. That's the things that change the game. Anyone can do something that everyone else has done, but to be different will make you stand out more.
I love it. Before I let you go, what other kind of, what do you have coming up? I know we talked about the book, but you have I think a tour, you said.
Yeah. So basically, this book, Everyone You Hate Is Going to Die, is coming out on the 3rd of November, because I love competing with the President of the United States for audiences. And there will be a US tour off the back of it, where like a book comedy tour, where I'll be selling the book after the show, but I'll be doing my new show, Hubris. And it'll be, I think we're going to about 15 different states. That'll be announced soon on danielsloss.com. And also I'll be taking Hubris to Australia in April, and Scotland and the rest of Europe in September. Yeah. Just go on danielsloss.co.uk or .com. Is it .com? What's my website? One of them.
How are you going to go at people for not knowing the date?
I know,
don't know the damn website.
I'm pretty sure it's danielsloss.com. But again, it's like, work it out. It's like, if people get to danielsloss.co.uk and it's not my website, and they go, well, I guess I can't go see him. He lied to me. There's no way this can be done.
Yeah, Google exists.
Yeah.
Do it. And honestly, like even before that, because there's time between, definitely watch Dark, Jigsaw on Netflix, X on HBO. You got a friend that has a login.
Yeah, use it.
It's good, but not if you're in a weak relationship.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks so much for having me, buddy.